Hi guys, welcome into a brand new year. Happy 2022. If I sound a little funky, it's because I am. I'm a little bit sick from my flatmate, so do blame him. The tree is still up, so this is again being horribly dated by a Christmas tree, but it's okay. I hope you all guys are all ready. Today is going to be a good day because it's another SCP. You guys are obsessed with them. I'm kind of obsessed with them. I haven't done many in a while, so I want to get really on it and start uploading more often like I promised I would. I've just been so busy doing a lot of other stuff. And honestly, I've just been enjoying some time off from work and from everything else. So I just kind of put a lot of things on the back burner for a week or two, and I do apologize for it, but at the same time I feel like it was very needed. And I'm really looking forward to just blitzing out more videos this year. My aim is to do 2 or 3 videos a week. If that is good enough for you guys, I hope so. I mean, that's what I'm gonna do because it's for my own mental well-being on top of everything else, because you know I do work a full-time job. I do stream like 25 hours a week, and I then have to do recording. I couldn't have done any of this without my fantastic editor, Fletch, anyway, so, you know, kudos to him for the editing. But yeah, let's just get right into this. You guys all need to know about me, so we're just gonna start the video. We're doing SCP-6001 Avalon today, and it is by SCP Explained Animation and Story, I believe they are called. If I got that wrong, I'll just change it on screen, don't worry about it. Anyway, let's get it started. Boof. Boof.
We've all dreamed of world peace at one time or another. Cynics might say that total uninterrupted peace on a global scale is something that could never be achieved. Wars,
I agree.
crime, unstable political relationships, international tension.
Until everyone starts accepting that everyone is different, like, the wars are never going to end. 99% of wars are because people have differing values and opinions, and like, if we just, I don't know, maybe that's a very over-the-top kind of idea, but you get me.
As long as human beings have the capacity for these things, they will remain as obstacles standing in the way of world peace. And then there's all the SCPs and dangerous anomalies out there. Just the existence of half of the horrors contained by the SCP Foundation could easily bring about the end of the entire world as we know it. And it's hard to achieve peace when death and destruction could be right around the corner. But what if that wasn't the case? What if there was no end of the world scenario? No evil eldritch god pulling the strings above, and no catastrophe waiting to finally drop? What if the world was just safe? If an existence of perfect peace and harmony still sounds like a pipe dream to you, then perhaps you should join us on a trip into the unknown.
Oh.
A journey into a world where things are so much better than here.
Wait. I mean, this doesn't sound so bad so far.
Welcome to SCP-6001.
I feel like I say that every video.
Welcome to Avalon. A safer and more peaceful world has always been at least partially the goal of the SCP Foundation. And it is true that without their containment and understanding of anomalous objects, the world would be a far more dangerous place if it wasn't completely destroyed in its entirety. However, there is always more that the Foundation
Stick a plaster on it.
Could do with their vast resources to improve the world. There are even SCPs that they have contained whose anomalous abilities could greatly benefit all of mankind, but the organization would hardly ever approve of doing anything
who was that
like
guy?
that, right? Well, SCP-6001 is a universe in which that actually happened, or rather something similar happened. Here, the resources of an organization like the Foundation were put to better use, and ultimately created a utopia, a paradise for all, achieving what we referred to at the
I mean, that sounds pretty nice, actually. Why is our SCP Foundation not doing this?
Start of this video. World Peace. The entry for SCP-6001 on the SCP archive opens with an email addressed to us from a member of Foundation personnel called David Caspian that reads, "Hey, sorry, I know it's late, but I just had to share this with someone, and there is no one in the world I'd rather share it with than you. I just had the most incredible day." Then, as the article continues, there are numerous format changes from the standard SCP Foundation entries that we're familiar with. In particular, the type of terminology is vastly altered from what we'd be familiar with. The term SCP is now Phenom. Special containment procedures have been replaced with Modus. IMPRIMIS takes the place of description, And even the name of the organization is different, the Compendium Phenomic Inquiry.
I mean,
This
that sounds
appears
pretty
a
cool, to
version
be
of the
honest.
SCP Foundation that exists in some kind of parallel universe or alternate timeline to the Foundation that we know. Phenom 6001 itself is a tiny microscopic singularity uncovered in the Tokyo of this other universe's Japan. This singularity is linked to another version of Tokyo from another universe, which is referred to as A6K. This
What?
universe, A6K, is described by the Compendium as being similar to their own reality in almost every superficial and surface level way. It looks the same, contains the
I bet Avalon's like super perfect though, and the other one is like the end of the world.
same people, the same places, and even the same anomalies. But that is where the similarities end. The A6K universe diverges from this baseline by having a general lack of cooperation among its inhabitants, scientific repression along with heightened paranoia, aggression, and levels of violence. Sound familiar?
So it's a
It
very
should,
aggressive
because
world.
A6K's main scientific institution is a group known as the SCP
Wait,
Foundation.
that's us!
That's right. A6K is the Foundation's reality.
We're
the
called
Foundation is aware
A6K?
of what it refers to as SCP-6001, but because of the tiny size of the singularity that links their world with that of the Compendium, none of their personnel are able to travel through to that reality. The Compendium states that it is considering unifying
Wait, so they can communicate with each other?
with the Foundation, striking up an alliance between universes. However, they both have dramatically different approaches which would likely get in the way of that. The SCP Foundation has always been shrouded in secrecy, never revealing anything to the public.
I bet the
often
Phenom
eliminating
one
or
does.
memory wiping anyone who witnesses an anomaly just to keep everything under wraps. Meanwhile, in their universe, the CPI has willingly made its documents and anomalous information available to anyone that asks for it. In the Foundation's
shit.
reality, the world they were
I feel like that's so much better though, because when people, like the problem is when people don't know, that's when people get scared. As soon as people are aware of things and understand and can grasp the reality, so to speak, of what's going on, that's when they are less lashing out in defense, so to speak. Because if you've got a cornered animal that doesn't know what's going to happen, it's going to lash out. We're the same. Humans are the same. We lash out when we don't know because unknowing is scared. I can't English today, apparently. You know damn well what I mean. You know what I mean.
were linked to via SCP-6001 was seemingly first discovered when David Caspian, the personnel member we mentioned earlier, hunched over the spot where the singularity was located for almost 5 minutes. He had been doing this for a number of weeks since the Foundation's instruments first detected the existence of the tiny hole connecting A6K with another dimension. David's focus had been so fixated on that spot where SCP-6001 was, that it wasn't until he got back up that he realized he was in a completely different universe.
Oh,
He
shit.
described tall, rounded skyscrapers unlike the Tokyo of the Foundation's world. Gigantic ivy growing up the buildings with leaves the size of cars. The clouds above had been replaced with the clearest blue sky, and clean, fresh air took the place of the stale, polluted environment David had just left. A nearby cat was perched on the same rooftop as David, watching strange sea.
Hang on a minute. Is this a cat world? Don't tell me this is a cat. Don't tell me this is a cat world.
Shaped glass constructs floating on the horizon, filled with lush green innards. The cat had a coat of spotted orange, white and brown underneath an actual coat, a violet blazer complete with a white bow under the collar and a black brooch pinned to it, the shape of an eye inside a globe. It even wore a pair of spectacles.
No way.
The cat Primrose greeted David by name
Oh
and
my
introduced
God.
herself, the pair sharing a brief joke about
You're
stepping
joking.
through the looking glass. Both of them were doctors. In fact, David was the Foundation's head of alt-dimensional research. When he asked Primrose how he had arrived on her side of SCP-6001, she responded by asking if he had heard of something called cross-dimensional test sampling. Of course, David was more than familiar with it. Not only was it a standard procedure for the SCP Foundation, but one that he himself had written. The procedure involved bringing an isolated part of another reality to a safe environment within one's own for testing purposes. This is exactly what the compendium had done to bring David to their universe.
Oh, so it selected him as the independent part of the reality and sucked him in. So they could do it with people, just not like a whole universe. Okay.
According to Primrose, the compendium had many similar procedures to the Foundation, causing David to ask why, if this was the case, he wasn't being scanned or checked for contaminants and pathogens, or paralyzed to prevent kinetographic mimetics. Primrose responded by simply asking if he had eaten breakfast and seemingly inviting him to
I feel like So basically, what we're gathering from this is the SCP Foundation are barbarians compared to literally other SCP equivalent universes. Okay. Interesting.
Primrose then sat with David on an armchair on the Tokyo rooftop and spoke an address to it. The next moment, she and David were transported to Paris, in a courtyard filled with similar chairs that other people and animals were using to teleport. Primrose referred to them as the Everywhere Chair, a form of public transport. David remarked that there was something similar in the A6K universe, referring to SCP-1609, which was destroyed by the Global Occult Coalition.
Wait,
the cat
what?
Responded,
Why did they destroy it?
Saying that
Why?
David would find many similarities between their universes.
That sounds so cool.
And mentioned that she was the department head of transdimensional development and discovery for the CPI. But then Primrose declared she no longer wanted to discuss work as she was already off the clock, despite it only being the early hours of the morning. When David questioned this, Primrose replied, "The wonders of automation, David. More hands make less work, and we have a lot of hands. Besides, I have something
Technically
more
that
important lined
pause,
up
but
for today." She then ordered œufs brouillés from a holographic menu, and David ordered the same, remarking, "When in Rome, or Paris, or a parallel reality with talking cats, you do as the Romans." David then asked Primrose about the compendium, learning that it was the primary scientific institute, but it lacked the employees of the SCP Foundation. Primrose and her fellow researchers were under no obligation to work for the CPI, but rather were able to choose to work with them out of their own curiosity or interest. The compendium was also responsible for running the governments, economies, and law enforcement of the entire world, with Primrose likening the organization to benevolent dictators. David then expressed surprise that people didn't resist the
Why would they resist it though if it's keeping them safe?
compendium taking control of the world.
Logic.
To which his feline counterpart replied, "Goodness no. Governments? Certainly. Corporations? Absolutely. The people, though. Imagine a foreign power suddenly swooping in and saying, 'Hey there, so we're in charge now. Here's universal healthcare, living wages, housing, infrastructure, and total liberty from anyone but us.'"
That's what I'm literally saying. Like, if you offer them all of these amazing things so they can live comfortably, why would they oppose you? The only reason people oppose those in power is because it's not enabling them to live comfortably. It's that
And
simple.
literally all we ask you is to respect basic human rights. That's it. We provide the rest tax-free. This also includes ethically replicated barbecue, instant global transport, and adorable talking animals. Also the cure to cancer. Can you really think of anyone so wedded to the existing power structures that they just say no to all that? It is easy to see why people would so willingly accept something so universally beneficial. By the time the compendium had gone public, they already had been working with world governments in the shadows, much like the SCP.
And like, obviously the governments are going to go with it. The governments won't like it because the government likes being in power because it's more like in their pocket. But at the same time, you know, they can't say no to all those things because it will make them look really bad.
SCP Foundation.
Like really bad.
At first, the public response had been rough, but all it took was a few years of human life on Earth improving to help the naysayers change their tune. Partway through their meal, David and Primrose discussed the compendium further. She revealed that something called Pact 15 was currently in the process of being rolled out worldwide. Pact stood for Phenom Application and/or Combination Technology.
That's a lot of
Phenoms being
words.
the CPI term for an SCP or anomaly. The initiative had come about after the compendium studied an Australian talking spider, or SCP-1470 as David knew it. The goal of PAX was to find a use for phenoms that would not only be beneficial to the people of their universe, but would also benefit the phenoms themselves. These creatures, objects, or entities were all given the freedom to choose whether or not they complied, and those that did would find their existence to be
Oh, I see. So they're letting them exist in the world if they can be beneficial to people in the world. If not, then they're gotten... That's actually a really good idea, because I feel like there are some SCPs that actually aren't that bad a thing. Like, for example, I think there was like that God SCP. Like that dude that thinks he's God or something. Like, that would be really cool. He could just perform a bunch of miracles and stuff, go around
David
helping
was given
people.
a tour of Primrose's world,
But he's locked up.
encountering all manner of familiar SCPs that had been repurposed and allowed to live their best possible lives alongside human beings, living in uninterrupted peace. For example, Dr. Clef seemingly pulled off the impossible by finally curing 682 of its aggression.
Yo! Wait. What? He cured his aggression?
After finding a whole nest of the creatures. 682's species, dubbed the Immortigons, have since both proliferated and really mellowed out, with the OG 682 stating that it no longer finds humans disgusting.
It had babies.
Another nightmarish anomaly from David's universe,
SCP-173
the Sculpture, has found a new lease on life in this world too. It lives in a museum, adored by everyone who sees it, and it uses a mere second of being unseen every night to reshape itself into a new, beautiful construction.
Okay, that's
Turns out
actually
a lot of its
really
aggression
cool.
merely came from being confined. As a piece of art, it wanted to be looked at and loved, not locked away and feared. Meanwhile, however, the various groups that formed the Compendium Phenomic Inquiry were casting their votes on what would be done about the residents of Dimension A6K. What would they do about the Foundation? Some among the Compendium saw the people of their neighboring universe as prisoners, needing liberation. Groups known as the Wanderers and the Charity hope to save Universe A6K.
They're trying to send us humanitarian aid because we're so violent. Oh my god. I've never felt so pitied.
To heal a world in need of their help. After all, this universe had a means to cure diseases and famines and ultimately achieve total peace, and wanted to share their gifts with the Foundation's world. However, one by one, opposing votes were cast. Other groups like the Synthetic Assembly looked to how A6K treated machines like slaves, refusing them of their own free agency. Another, known as the Partnership of Three, argued that A6K
to be fair,
held no
if
value.
a microwave don't work.
Their natural resources deplete at a staggering rate. The labor force is sickly and untrained.
True.
Their cultural dissimilarities are, well, laughable.
True.
We have everything they have, and what little uniqueness they bring to market, so to speak, isn't worth its counter space. They wouldn't even make a good tourist trap. What kind of morbid
I'm feeling really picked on right now. I mean, I want to disagree. I want to disagree with what they're saying, but at the same time, I kind of agree with what they're saying. Oh my god, this is such a trippy video.
So B would want to visit these wonders of theirs. It's all tombs and constructs of war, old crumbling architecture where people would fight each other to the death for sport. And who defaces a perfectly good mountain like that with a bunch of dead people's faces?
Some of the Compendium claimed that the people of Universe A6K had to learn to overcome their own adversities, rather than the easy option for their universe's people to come in to fix everything. Others simply claimed that A6K was just irredeemable, its people not to be trusted. Finally, the vote was settled.
The SCP Foundation seems a little out there, if I'm being honest. If it's, you know, can cure cancer and all this on, it just hasn't.
The Compendium would deny help to the Foundation and its universe, and would seal SCP-6001 just enough to keep them out. But they would watch over A6K, and the day when the people of that universe were ready to come and ask for the Compendium's help, the day they were ready to finally know world peace, they would be welcomed with open arms.
That's never gonna happen.
Needless to say, that day hasn't arrived yet. We just really, really hope it does sometime soon. One person, however, did get a happy ending in this story. None other than David himself, who now works blissfully in a bar in alternate Osaka. We'd love to be happy for him, but frankly, we're a little too jealous.
David got a, that's
now go
actually
check
really
out
sweet. David got a good ending.
SCP-001 When Day Breaks, and SCP-001 Ouroboros Cycle, the full story compilation for more alternate universe craziness.
They both sound very good. I don't know how to feel about that one, because at the end of the day, like, world peace, cancel, I don't want to watch that. I don't think world peace is ever gonna happen. I mean, maybe it would if like, for example, our people in charge stopped hoarding like all the SCP stuff. Like, for example, I didn't know there were so many beneficial SCPs that have either been destroyed or just contained and not utilized. I feel like that's just such a waste. Why are they not? I know it could be like dangerous and stuff, but if a different universe can pull it off, surely we're also able to pull it off. But then at the same time, everyone in this universe is so damn power hungry and determined to be on top that I feel like even if we did release beneficial SCPs, it's all just going to turn to chaos because people are just going to kill other people to get those SCPs to make a profit off of them. That's all it's going to be like. You can cure SCP-682 and make him friendly. What's going to happen? I guarantee you, people would steal those eggs, raid it, take the babies, make the babies like fight each other for money, make them like, you know, workers, etc., etc. Like, it all go absolutely tits up. So I, as much as I like the idea of world peace, I know it's not going to happen. And people in this world ain't going to change. Maybe slowly and steadily, they have to gradually, over time, changed from what it used to be. But it's a slow progress. It's a slow process. We ain't going to get world peace immediately. Probably won't in this lifetime, not in my lifetime. Who knows? We'll see though. Don't know. But yeah, just do all the usual YouTube stuff. You know, like, subscribe, comment. Let me know if you want to see the next one. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. What a trippy frickin' video this one's been. I don't know what to think about it. Wouldn't mind to work in Osaka bar though. Good world peace. Bye guys.